don't know. We'll figure out a name eventually. I'm not gonna post this for a few more days, so didn't think about it. But anyway, for this first episode, we're gonna be talking about my thoughts on The Last of Us Part 2. Now, I just want to go into this saying this is a game I did not want to be made. I thought the way that the first game ended was ambiguous, but not too ambiguous to where they couldn't have cut it off there. Also because I just didn't want them to mess this game up. There's no way, in my opinion, that it could have lived up to the hype. So I'll say that going into it. There's no way it could have lived up to the hype. This is, in my opinion, one of the most hyped up games of all time. One of the most anticipated games of all time because it's following up on a lot of people's, or one of the best games of all time in a lot of people's opinion, as far as storytelling and narratives go. That being said, in my opinion, and again, all these things are going to be my opinions, so if you disagree with me, that's fine. But in my opinion, they swung big and they missed even bigger with this game. And I'm going to get into why. Because a lot of this game is very good, but the most important part of this game is also the worst part of this game. And I'm talking about the story. Last of Us Part 2 is a linear story-driven game. So if you think the story is bad, then you think the game is bad. And I'll get into my rating at the end. But the way I do ratings is 10 out of 10 is not perfect. 10 out of 10 is a masterpiece because there's no such thing as a perfect game. 5 out of 10 is average, and in between, you can kind of 5 is average, 6 is good, 7 is very good, 8 is great, 9 is amazing, 10 is a masterpiece, so on and so forth. 0 is unplayable. I'll pretty much never give any game a 0. So, that being said, what does this game do good? Graphically, it is one of the best looking games I've ever seen. I don't know how they were able to do it on a PS4. My PS4 sounded like it was a jet was taking off, but it still held strong. It was 30 FPS, which I mean isn't a huge deal, I guess, in terms of things. Of course, 60 FPS is better, but there's no way the PS4 could have ran this game at 60 FPS. I don't even know if the Xbox One X or whatever it's called could have done that either. Could have done it either. Regardless, yeah, one of the best looking games I've ever seen. Definitely best looking game on PS4 in my opinion, up there with Uncharted 4 and Final Fantasy VII Remake. Sound design was also top tier. The level design was, in my opinion, a lot better than in the first one. The level and world design was just insane. The combat was more or less the same from the first one. They added in some new things with like the melee mechanics that I enjoyed, but the length of the game, by the time I was like 3/4 of the way, I was just tired of like the combat and like the stealth and everything. Sound was litty, yeah, it was amazing. Like when you would stealth kill someone, like the noises you would hear and like the gun noises especially were really good. Like you brought up when you were at the workbench and you were upgrading your gun, all those noises were like ASMR, which I agree, they were. So yeah, but with that being said, oh, and other good parts, any of the flashbacks with Joel and Ellie, all those were amazing. That being said, those were the only good parts of the game. The story, if you look at it objectively, makes no sense. And it goes out of its way to undo everything that the first game set up. And I'm going to start off with the biggest offender, Joel's death. I was going into this game fully expecting Joel to die. And by the way, this isn't scripted or anything. This is just me rambling and ranting and giving off my opinion. So if I miss things, there's a lot, believe me, there's a lot of stuff that I could miss, but I'm going to try and hit the major points. Joel's death, in my opinion, was unacceptably bad. I'll tell you why. In the first game, Joel was set up as a cautious, precarious, didn't trust anyone. Granted, yeah, he's older in this game. Things have changed. But what's always stayed the same with Joel is when he's out on a mission, he's not trusting anyone. He's, full survival mode. Tommy was too. They mentioned multiple times in this game alone what Tommy and Joel did to survive as long as they did. I mean, Tommy helped put together the freaking giant city of Jackson. Like, he got his hands dirty. So for them to make Joel's and Tommy so lackadaisical and freely give away the information of who they are, where they live, that they have supplies that, you can just go and take. I don't buy that for a second, and that undoes everything that the first game set up about Joel. So again, I'm pretty sure this applies to 99% of people. People were upset that Joel died, but they were more so upset at the way it was handled. Another huge issue with this game is the pacing. And we'll get into that later, but whether you like this game or not is all dependent upon one thing, and that's if the game can make you empathize with Abby. If the game can, and if you empathize and you can understand Abby's character and like Abby's character, you probably like the game. I think they make it very hard, and they set themselves up to fail for a lot of people in doing that, because Abby kills Joel, brutally kills him within the first 2 hours of the game, and you have no reason, you have no character set up or anything, and then they try and do that throughout the game to make you do it. And for me, they just missed the mark so bad. I honestly think this game should have started with a flashback where you play as Abby, and then you play as Abby for like the first half of the game. And I think they should have marketed it that way too, which is another thing that I hate and I can't stand that they did with this game. They tried to make it seem like, they straight up said Ellie was going to be the only playable character. That's a lie. They said this was going to be a game about Ellie and Joel, which kinda is, because there's the flashback scenes. I'm losing my train of thought. Oh yeah, in the trailers they used scenes from flashbacks, and they just made Joel look older. They used his older character model, and they even used Ellie's older character model. But then in the game they were flashbacks and Joel was younger. To me, that's really scumbaggy. I think what they should have done is not shown Ellie or Joel at all in the trailers, and only shown Abby and that group. And then like halfway through the game, you meet up with Joel and you understand the reasoning and the motive behind why this entire group of people hates Joel. And then you understand. And then from there, it goes into the revenge story. I think that would have been a lot better. I also have a way that I think the ending could have, in my opinion, been better. Because the ending was absolutely awful, again, in my opinion. But that'll be a point that we talk about later in the video. So yeah, the pacing, and there was a lot of continuity errors. So for example, you have a scene with Owen and Abby where they say, oh, they found Joel's brother Tommy, and he's somewhere in this area. So at the beginning of the game, they weren't even looking for Joel. They were looking for Tommy. Not only does Abby hear when Joel and Tommy first rescue her, Tommy says, hey, I'm Tommy, this is Joel. That I can kind of forgive, the adrenaline was rushing in that scene. She might not have understood what they were saying. But then when they get back in the area where Tommy and Joel just, drop all their weapons around this group of people they don't know, that were patrolling around their home city, not suspicious at all, while out on a patrol in that survival mindset, mind you. They hear Tommy's name, who they were looking for, right? And they don't react. Nobody reacts in the entire room. Even though they were looking for Tommy to get information on where Joel was. They don't react to that. They react to Joel's name. And the position, again, okay, this part is really nitpicky. But the position that Abby is in, where she lifts, she wasn't holding the shotgun, Owen was. So Tommy must have seen her reach over to grab the shotgun and point it, and only reacts after Joel gets shot. Again, that's kind of nitpicky, but whatever. The part that almost made me stop playing this game was when they tried to force you to play as Abby at the halfway point of the game. And nothing for that 10-hour time frame mattered to me. There was nothing they could have done to make me empathize with Abby, or even her group. There was nothing they could have done, and the game tries so hard to get you to empathize with Abby. So trash game is what I'm getting from this. I'm saying things pretty positively, and my rating overall is probably higher than it should be. Because I'm not kidding when I say this is one of the best looking games I've ever seen. Sound-wise, it's top tier. Another really good thing they did, which I didn't mention, is all the accessibility features to allow, like, you know, people with certain, like, different disabilities. This game had, like, the most accessibility functions and features out of any game ever, which I thought was really sick. So let's look at a couple of examples. When you play as Ellie, you literally go on a freaking murder spree with, like, hundreds of bodies, like, just racked up. You kill literally everyone you see. They try and give names to random NPCs to make you feel bad for killing them. They try and make you feel bad for killing people that were trying to kill you, to get you to try and feel bad about what you're doing. Because that's kind of the whole ongoing theme throughout this game, is revenge is bad. Which even at the end, you let Abby go. You essentially save Abby's life at the end from the slave fighting ring or whatever she was in. And revenge is bad, and that's not what Joel would have wanted. Well, no shit. Joel wouldn't have wanted her to go get revenge in the first place, but she did that. And the second she gets to her goal, she just lets it go. Okay, we'll get back to the game trying to get you to like Abby. At the end, what I think should have happened, I think Ellie should have gotten there and Abby should have already been dead. Like, she lets her down from the cross thing and Abby's dead. And then she has her epiphany, that memory with Joel. And then she takes Lev and they go, like, back to Jackson or some shit. And then the next game could focus on Ellie and Lev and kind of be a mirror image of the relationship that Ellie and Joel had in the first game. With, like, some more shit with the scars going on, even though, like, their base was destroyed. All that. I think that would have been so much better. Would it have been good? It would have been better. So when you play as Ellie, the game tries to make you feel really bad for doing things. It makes you try to feel bad for killing people that are trying to kill you. You have to kill dogs. They said you don't have to, but there's one scripted dog kill that you have to do. When you play as Abby, you play with the dogs, you know, you play fetch in the museum with them. When you play as Ellie, you end up killing a pregnant woman who you did not know was pregnant. When you play as Abby, you take joy in the thought of killing somebody that is pregnant. And the only reason you don't do it is because of Lev. The only reason. So the game is going to try and get me to empathize with a character that would take joy in killing a pregnant person. That's another thing this game does too. The second they want you to feel attachment to anything, they either throw a dog in there or they make the character pregnant. And to go even further, how is like an 8-month full-on pregnant lady more agile and mobile, talking about Mel, than Dina, who literally is newly pregnant, like literally within a couple weeks. How is an 8-month pregnant lady going in the front lines of a straight up, lack of a better word, war or like battle? How is she more mobile and agile? You know, she's dolphin diving in the front lines of a battle. Not literally, but like, you know. So that didn't make sense to me. Another thing they did in the promotional shit was with Joel. They fucking put him in scenes that he legit wasn't in. Like the scene where it's like, you think I'd let you do this on your own? That was Jesse, who dies and you forget about within 5 seconds. There's just so much shit, man, that I truly think they could have made this game work with the same story. Just the way it was paced was so bad. Again, first scene of the game, you should have been playing as Abby. It should have been one of the flashback scenes where you find out her dad was the surgeon. And then maybe you don't play as her for a while. Maybe it goes from there how it normally went. But I did not enjoy any of the time I spent playing as Abby. It was straight up 10 hours of pointless side quests that, honestly, I put all the difficulties down to the lowest just so I could get through the game. That's the point I was at. I think if you half that, switch around the pacing a little bit, the same shit could have happened. And it would it have been great? No. Would it have been as good as the first one? Hell no. But it would have been better than what it was. Again, there's so many more things I could say. And I know I'm missing a lot because I've had time. I'm actually being more positive than I was about the game a couple days ago. Again, I almost got to the point where I wasn't even gonna finish it. But I put everything on the lowest difficulty and I literally just ran through it. Like I just ran. I was like, I got to the point where halfway through the game I just wanted it to be done. And that's bad. So with all that being said, if I had to rate this game, I'd give it a 5 out of 10. Graphics wise, 10 out of 10 easy. Gameplay, probably a 7 out of 10. Story wise, a 2 out of 10 probably. So what does that average out to? 10, 7, that's 17 plus 2, 19. 19 divided by 30 is what? Fucking, I don't know, do math. But I don't understand what made them feel like this was the right thing to do. Like in all the interviews, Neil Druckmann said it was going to be a polarizing game. Which it definitely was. I mean, people are calling this the last Jedi of video games, which it is. And again, I'm being kind of lenient in my rating. Originally, I gave this game a 3 out of 10. Because it's a linear story-based game, and if the story is bad, the game is bad. 63%, so 6 out of 10. If you do the average, I'm doing 5 out of 10. I also think this game would have been, if this wasn't The Last of Us Part 2, emphasis on the Part 2, it's a continuation and a build-up of the first part, not a tear down and restructure of the first part. If this wasn't The Last of Us Part 2, I think it's a pretty good game. I think it's a 7 out of 10 game. I honestly do. And again, they could have used all the shit they had in this game, restructured it, paced it to where you... Is it at the bottom of my PC? Oh, it's the bottom of my PC. They could have they could have used the same exact stuff pull it apart, swap it around, and made a coherent story. The way they killed Joel was an embarrassment and undoes everything they set up in the first game. Ellie is a completely different character in this game than she was in the first, which is kind of understandable. Another thing that they undid from the first game, apparently the cure from Ellie, which we still don't know why she's immune. I doubt we'll ever find out. Apparently the cure in this game was a 100% certainty. In the first game, it wasn't. First game, there was a chance that they were going to get a cure. But in this game, it was 100% certain that Ellie was going to, that Ellie was going to provide the cure. And I think it's funny that Ellie talks about Joel taking away her choice to do things. That's what this game does. But this game goes a step further. It takes away your choice of doing things, and it tries to make you feel bad for doing the things that it forces you to do. And it was not a fun game to play, which that doesn't necessarily make it a bad game. Because there can be, in my opinion, good games that are rough to play because of the shit that the game makes you do. But this was not one of those games. And again, like I said at the beginning of this was a game I did not want to be made. But here we are, and we're probably going to have to play as Abby in the third game again. Which again, if they would have restructured it and shown more depth and character development for Abby at the beginning of the game, killed Joel halfway or 2/3 of the way through the game, and then had the revenge trope, I think it could have been salvageable. But just the way this game was set up, in my opinion, they set themselves up for failure. And it really fucking sucks, because you never want a sequel or the sequel to one of your favorite games of all time crash and burn. And yeah, the game's selling well. Their sales in the second week were down 80%, but it still sold a shit ton of copies. Game of Thrones was some of the most viewed shit on in television history. Game of Thrones Season 8. Some of the most viewed stuff in television history, and Last Jedi made over $1 billion. You see what people think about those now. I think if they would have completely restructured it and the trailers only shown Abby and her group, it would have been a lot bolder. It would have caused a lot more interest. Would it have hurt their sales numbers? Their entry-level sales numbers, yep. The back-end sales would have picked it up once people gave it better ratings. And to wrap this up, this game has strengthened my opinion to never trust critic reviews ever. Ever. Because again, I know I said this was opinion-based, but I do not know how somebody can sit and play through this game and give it a 10 out of 10. I don't see how you do that. A 9 out of 10? Rough, but I can buy. There's no way I will believe somebody doesn't have outside influence if they give this game a 10 out of 10. It's just the way it is. And I haven't even gotten into all this shit that Naughty Dog's been doing, like taking down people's Twitters and channels and the embargo they put on the second half of the game. So when you start playing as Abby, people weren't allowed to talk about that in reviews until, like, I don't know if it was release day. I think it was release day. Which that right there is just like a big red flag. But yeah, 5 out of 10. And that's being generous. I wanted to give it like a 3, more realistically a 4 out of 10, but a 5 out of 10, so it is what it is. This was the first episode of, I don't know what the hell I'm going to call it yet. I'm thinking Real Talk, but that just seems kind of lame, so we might spice it up a bit. But if you disagreed with anything I said, I'd be more than happy to talk to you about it. I stream on Twitch, twitch.tv/Brewski, every Monday, Wednesday, Friday around 8:30 p.m. Central Time. You can come on by. We can talk about this or any other topic you want to. I'm pretty open to discussions, so feel free to stop by. Let me know if you agreed or disagreed with everything. And again, let me know in the comments what you thought about this game, because I think there's outliers on both the positive and the negative side. But like, this game is not a 0 out of 10. Again, a 0 out of 10 has to be like unplayable, game doesn't work. And a 10 out of 10 has to be like a freaking masterpiece, like enjoyed every second of it. But yeah, that's going to be it for episode 1. Appreciate everyone watching. Be sure to leave a like, leave a comment, hit that subscribe button, and I will see you guys next time. Peace.